why did you want to start making content?
I ask myself that like every night before I go to bed.
How long do you think it will take you to get to 10 million subscribers?
72 hours.
I'll say 6.
Because I always
bought a house.
I bought a house.
You didn't pay a penny for that.
I did not pay a penny for it.
Welcome back to the U Media Podcast. Got your boys here. It's myself and Cedric. This is going to be an interesting day because we're going to dive into your story.
Ooh.
Right off the bat.
Oh, boy.
Let's just do it. But before we do that, quick introductions. I know this is a new channel for a lot of people. This is our first couple videos, so just quick introductions. Who are you?
So my name is Cedric, a.k.a. Cedlam on social media. I'm a creator for 2 years now, but for the past 4 years, I've been working under you and learning a lot, in the background and applying everything that I learned into the content that I'm posting today. So, yeah, that's like a little breakdown.
And you've grown a lot. Let me read some statistics.
Oh, you got this. You did your research.
All right, so here you go. So you sent a tweet out at the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
Hold on one sec.
You went on my Twitter.
In the beginning of 2023, you started with 165 TikTok followers, 8,000 YouTube subscribers, and 19,000 Instagram followers. And as of right now, you have 50,000 YouTube subscribers, 250,000 on TikTok, and you just crossed 50,000 on Instagram. Yeah. On every single platform, you have either doubled or quadrupled your following, and we are only like We're 8 months into the year.
Yeah, over halfway.
Which is insane.
Now that I'm thinking about it, now that you just said that out loud, yeah, it's actually kind of crazy.
So your growth is wild. Let's break this down. So on TikTok, you have 452 videos. On YouTube, you have 74 videos, mainly shorts.
Yeah.
On Instagram, you have 315 posts or videos, reels. You also have tons of sponsorships. You got the Ghost over there. You got you're wearing the shirt, High Ground. Yeah. You got Micro Center sponsorships, tons of other brands. Yeah. I saw this dude a month ago get a $5,000 monitor was that for free? Did you get that for free? Don't lie to me.
Which one? The big Arc?
The Arc.
Yeah, that was
free. You didn't pay a penny for that.
I did not pay a penny for it. I did sacrifice some compensation for the monitor, but I needed to get it because it was trendy, and I knew that if I got it while it was trendy, I would get views, and I did.
My point is you were able to build all this in 2 years while still maintaining a full-time job.
Yeah.
Working for me, helping film videos, helping plan videos for our Unspeakable channel, which for those of you guys that don't know, that's what I've been doing for the past 11 years. You can find me over on the Unspeakable channel. There's 3 different channels.
Yeah, you killed one.
Yeah, I did kill one. So I've been doing YouTube for 11 years. I've grown it to over 35 million subscribers, 17 billion views, tons of other stuff, but I won't get into it because this podcast is directly about you. And going back to my thing about you have grown this huge following.
Yeah.
You're making a good amount of money on brand deals and all types of stuff. At the same time, you're still working full-time for me 5 days a week. My question is, how are you balancing this, and why did you want to start making content?
Wow. Okay. That's a doozy. So balancing work and my content, there's no balance. It's just I work 9 to 5. I go home, work 5 to 9, essentially.
Oh, you reverse it.
So I revert, yeah.
5 to 9. Yeah. 9 to 5, 5 to 9.
That was a little clever. But no, I just kind of like, the reason why I wanted to be a creator is I've always wanted to be a creator, watching all the OG YouTubers growing up, Ryan Higa, Kev Jumba, you have Smosh, like all of these creators really inspired me to make content, but I never pulled the trigger until 2 years ago. And the reason for that is because there was just like, one, I never thought I really had it in me to, create the content that I wanted to create. And also like, I was living with my parents at the time. I could not do that around like anybody. It was like I was the most self-conscious battle ever. So when I moved out and I moved into my apartment, I'm like, I'm here. I have so much space. This is like a creative outlet for me. I'm going to like finally wire in and pull the trigger and just be a creator. And I truly don't know how I can do it while managing a full-time job. Like when you ask me that, I ask myself that like every night before I go to bed. I'm like, all right, I got to edit the podcast tomorrow. I got to film 4 TikToks for myself. And then I got to go to the gym. Oh man, but if I miss the gym, then maybe I can, edit 2 more TikToks or something like that. Like there is no balance. It's just grind, grind, grind. And it's really just because like I have a passion for being a creator. And I think that's what's really driving me this entire time.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like you're working.
It doesn't feel like work. I tell myself I have to do these things, but I don't. Like sometimes I'll kind of stand in my house and be like, all right, I got to film 2 TikToks today. And then in the back of my head, I'm like, I really don't have to do this, but I want to do it.
Yeah.
So I think it feels really good knowing that like I could do these things because I can and not because like I genuinely have to. It's I want to.
That's a huge difference right there for anyone that's a creator. There's a saying, I don't remember how the saying goes, but the man that loves walking is going to get there no matter what.
Yeah.
Like he just loves walking. I forget what the saying is, but put it on screen if we know what it is. Sorry for the people that are listening to audio only, but
find the quote.
Yeah, man, I just think it's crazy that you're able to work a full-time job. I mean, it's just, you're literally proof that anyone out there can work a full-time job and at the same time become a successful creator. I would consider you successful. Across all your channels, you have 360,000 followers, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I would consider that. I mean, you're still obviously young into the game. You've been doing it for how long? 2 years?
I started December 5th. That's your birthday.
That is my birthday.
2021.
Oh, you did that just for me, didn't you?
Yeah. That's how I remember.
That's cute.
That's how I remember your birthday.
That's cute.
But I started December 5th, 2021. My career actually started through streaming. Streaming was always interesting to me. I thought it was like a really cool way to engage with people. But with streaming,
I remember those days.
You don't build an audience through streaming. There's no discoverability through it. So the way I wanted to grow the Twitch channel was through content. And so I was doubling down on content. And I was just making a bunch of videos that would promote the streams. And I gained like 12,000 followers on Twitch, but I dropped streaming. Like streaming, I only do it for fun, only really when I have time, because the 8 hours that I could spend streaming, I could spend those hours making like 6 videos that get 1 million views and actually build a brand, or I could stream to like 12 people for 8 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things when you're a creator, you slowly figure out like what's your time worth.
Yeah.
And you slowly figure out because what you're describing is you have more leverage, right? And with streaming, you don't have a lot of leverage because people only watch you when you're live.
Yeah.
But you have a lot of leverage, and a lot of creators have. You guys got to understand, media is leverage. You can make one video, and people can watch it for the next 5, 6, 7, 10 years. But you don't have to make that video ever again. Obviously, you have to keep making content, but that one video, I have videos that are like from 6 years ago that are still making me like $1,000 a month. I have not touched that video since 6 years,
Yeah.
So the more you build, the more momentum, the more it compounds, the more leverage you have, which I think is just super powerful. So that's just one of the things that, getting up to that higher level of creator success is like, you just gotta do more.
Yeah.
I think the only thing you really understand what it means to be a creator, what it means to make good content. And the only thing that you're battling right now that I see at least is time.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong. And that leads me to my next question is, what is the biggest thing you're struggling with?
I think,
and don't tell me time.
Oh,
tell
man.
me something else.
Biggest thing I'm struggling with.
What is your biggest struggle? It could be something as simple as like, editing videos is a waste of time, or maybe you have trouble thinking of ideas, or maybe you don't know what to focus on, short form versus long form, because I know you do a lot of short form content and not much long form. Maybe it's finding brand deals. Like what's your right now? What's your biggest struggle?
I think my biggest struggle right now is obviously short form is really easy to build an audience, but that audience isn't a dedicated audience that's going to stick with you for years. You see that with long form. I think what I'm trying to do right now and I'm struggling with is branding. I want people to see my content and say, that's Sedlam's videos, and not just like swipe away. You know, I think like I want people to see the video and they're like, oh, this is a Sedlon video. I'm going to stick around because this is so cool. That's what I'm struggling with. It's like branding. I don't want to be compared to anybody else right now. I want to be like in my own lane and people are like, oh, this guy is doing that.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest thing I'm struggling with. Other than time, of course. Time is like, I wish there's 72 hours in a day, you know,
Yeah.
and I would get so much more done.
Yeah. I mean, branding is like, you got to think of it as like branding is kind of like, I heard these words from Gary V, OG man,
The guy.
He talks about how branding is like your reputation,
Yeah.
basically, right?
Yeah.
And your reputation is something that takes time to build. Branding takes time to build, and it's something that the only way what you're talking about is you're trying to stand out more.
Yeah.
So that's your biggest struggle is trying to stand out from the pack, the crowd of tech YouTubers that are making content similar to yours. And that's something that can only be found from really digging deep into the content and the audience that watches your stuff and consumes your stuff. It's really hard to do it without just getting into the game and just making more and more and more content. It's like sitting on the sidelines of a football game and trying to understand how the players are playing. You can't really do it. You have to be in the game, and then you can figure out the strategies to develop, right?
Yeah.
You're currently in the game, which is great. So what you need to do is just keep doing what you're doing, and you'll slowly find those things because they'll stand out or they'll go viral, and you can lean more into them. So like, for example, I know one of your recent videos went viral. It was like, what was it? You remodeling your...
Yeah. So I got these slat walls from a company, which is a barter deal I did.
Yeah.
And the unboxing for it went viral on both TikTok and Instagram. I think on Instagram it was at like 3.5 to 3.8 million views. And then on TikTok it did like 2 million views, I believe. So, and that's just the unboxing video. The actual installation on TikTok did like 1.4 million.
So all you did is unbox a wall panel.
Yeah, I unboxed like 7 boxes of worth of wall panels, but I think like what stood out, and I think I tapped into the home design niche, but I shot and edited it like a tech talk, like a tech video.
Yeah.
So when people on the home design space see this video, it stands out to them because it's like, oh, I haven't seen a style like this before. I think that's why it went so viral, because it was so much like different compared to everyone else that's like unboxing these things or just doing home design in general. Usually home design in general, it's very simple. It's usually just like iPhone on a tripod. Okay, I'm going to go install this. We're going to take down the wall. But me, I did like all these hypercuts, like editing, flash cuts. I did like 3D text on the wall. I color graded the footage. You know, I'm shooting it cinematically.
That's it right there.
So yeah, that's like the style. Now I'm just trying to establish that more. Like I want people to see more of these videos.
But you just did it. That's it. That's how you stand it out. But sometimes you got to understand that maybe you might not stand out in your content, but you might stand out to a specific audience.
Yeah.
And you stood out specifically to people that, because usually you make tech videos, but you stood out to the people in home design because you made a home design video feel like a tech video.
Yeah, exactly.
That's branding right there. You were able to stand out, find something different, and then you were able to adapt your style to a different audience that was like, whoa, this is really cool. And now they're going to remember you from that.
Yeah. But that's in just the home design niche. Essentially, like I want to establish my style across, you know, the tech space.
Yeah.
And have that style throughout. And then people will just notice it. Obviously, it worked in the home design stuff. So now I'm just really trying to just, you know, double down in the tech space and be like, okay, that's a Sedlon video. I'm going to stick around and watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing there is just like you got to figure out what can you do that's just totally different from all the other creators. Like, you know, if let's just say reviewing an iPhone, because I know that's probably like one of the most popular tech videos ever is reviewing an iPhone. most tech creators are going to sit down and they're going to tell you about this iPhone. They're going to tell you all the features of it. They're going to tell you the battery life. They're going to show off the new camera. They're going to go test it, compare it to the old iPhones. You know,
Mm-hmm.
basic tech review.
Yeah.
How could you take that and completely stand out? There's many ways, right? One basic way would just be to make it better, right? But I don't think that's
Enough. Yeah.
Another way would be, what if you added a challenge to it? What if you gave the iPhone to a random stranger, and maybe that random stranger had an old iPhone, like an iPhone 5, and they just upgraded to the new iPhone 14 or 15 or whatever, and they're freaking out. They're like, oh my gosh, there's no home button. There's no,
Yeah.
and then you film their experience for a week with that new phone.
Yeah.
And that's the review. And you build a story around it versus just sitting and talking to the audience and just, talking to the camera. You're able to build a different story. Or what if you make a challenge around it? I don't know what it could be, but maybe you test it in different scenarios somehow.
Yeah. That's like kind of what I want to tap into in long form. I think it's an untapped market, is taking tech and taking the challenge genre and merging them together. I don't see many people doing it. I've seen people do it, but I don't see many people doing it. There's people who have like really good engineering skills and they make some pretty cool stuff. Yeah. I can't do that. I'm not that smart.
I mean, you can sorry. You can also I just get excited about this stuff. You can get creative with the features too.
Yeah, exactly.
What if you did okay, so let's say Apple announces the new iPhone, and let's just say that, for example, one of the biggest features is that the battery life doubled, and everyone's talking about the battery life. Mm-hmm. That's like the new hottest thing, right? So, and most tech creators are just going to make a normal video talking about it. That's it. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, look at this battery life. It's so cool. What if you did a challenge where you tried to cross a state before your iPhone died or something?
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's a very untapped market. And I think because maybe those tech creators are just not interested in that space, but you got to think like, what's getting the views,
Well, stories are very powerful.
Exactly. I don't want to, I've had my share of watching people, sit down at a table, unbox, and like, these are the new features. Granted, I do that in short form, but it's short form and, it's like 30 seconds. So it's very quick. I can't watch a full length YouTube video of someone unboxing the new MacBook and then telling me the specs about it.
Yeah.
If you're showing me a day in the life with a MacBook, that's great. I think, you're showing me a day-to-day use of this piece of technology, and there's a purpose, there's a story to it. We're following you around with this piece of tech. It's not necessarily like a huge challenge, but there's a story to it, Mm-hmm. And I think like I think we're going to see a shift in tech content. I think we're going to see a lot more of that. It's a little bit more simple, these day in the life videos with a certain piece of tech.
Yeah.
But the challenge ones, that's where like, I think it's gold.
And that's where your brand comes from right there.
Yeah. So recently I just did a video where this was a Micro Center deal I did. I got a portable monitor and I got this handheld gaming PC. I mounted both of those to a C-stand and made an overhead like PC setup so I could lay in bed and play video games. And that was a way for me to show off the portable monitor because that's what I got from Micro Center. And that has like 100K views on both Instagram and TikTok right now. And it's just climbing. So like interesting ways to show off tech, like you said.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to do it in the most outlandish ways ever. Like the next setup video I want to build a setup in my car,
Yeah. And that's perfect. But, and you should keep doing that. And that's kind of like what I was saying earlier, where like, you're only going to know those things if you're in the game.
Exactly.
Like creators so often get stuck and they're like, man, I can't think of a good idea. I haven't uploaded in so long. I haven't done this. It's like, you're not in the game. You're just looking at it from afar. Like, go get in the game and just start making something and hit publish. Like, you're not going to know. Like, even if it's, okay, maybe you're like, oh, I can't think of a long form idea. Cool. Make 30 shorts And what if one of the shorts blow up and then you make a full video long form about the short?
Yeah, just convert it into a long form video. I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of what I want to do with the car setup one. I want to make it really quick for short form, but drag the whole thing out into a long form video and give you like a more detailed process.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what I did with, I built my girlfriend a gaming setup. I put that into a 3-part TikTok series.
That's cool.
So I filmed it. This is fun. I had 2 cameras for it. One tripod had the camera horizontal and the other camera had it vertical. And I shot it both at the same time because I knew that I wanted to post TikToks about it, but I didn't want to film it horizontally and then zoom in because it just looks gross.
Yeah.
So I'm filming both of these in the back of my head. I'm like, all right, this shot's for TikTok. This shot is for YouTube. Dude, never again. That was brutal. That was so painful. It was like, all right, making sure both of these settings are right, making sure I'm getting both of these angles correctly. And I was filming a TikTok vlog at the same time.
my
So I'm
gosh.
filming 2 TikToks, pretty much 4 TikToks and a full long form video.
That's just the grind, dude.
It is the grind, yeah.
That's just the grind.
But I had fun doing it,
Yeah.
and that's all that matters.
So you started content because you've always wanted to be a creator.
Yeah.
I guess my next question would be, like, what do you see if you could position yourself, because you said time is your biggest issue.
Yeah.
You know, I know you, and you know what to do to go viral and make good content, but you just need time, right? It's just going to take time. That's just the reality.
Yeah.
But if you were to skip ahead, let's say 5 years, let's say you're full time on like long form content, still making short form content for sure, but you're 7.5 million subscribers, you're pulling in insane brand deals from all these massive tech companies. Like, what do you think your life looks like?
I think it would be literally like how it is now, just longer videos. Hopefully I have a team by then. You know, I'm having people help me out with these things. I think the content is going to be drastically different. I think it's going to lean a lot more towards the challenge genre with minor tech in it. For example, here's an idea that I wrote down the other day. Stupid idea. Don't know if I'll ever do it unless, like, you know, I got a lot of money to spend. But you've seen the isolation videos.
Yeah.
So I do that, right? But the floors, the ceilings, and the walls are all screens. And one person's on the outside, and he can control anything, whether it's every screen or just one. And I got to sit in there for 100 hours. It sounds like the stupidest idea ever. But it's still tech related, right? Because I could be doing that, and then it's a Samsung integration. It's like, I'm in the Samsung room.
Yeah.
And I'm going to spend 100 hours in here. And
That's
it's
cool.
just like torture. But I don't know. I think like 5 years down the line, hopefully I have a team. Hopefully I'm thinking of more outlandish spectacle ideas, but they still have stories, and they're not like, you know, retention farming videos. They're fun stories that people will be entertained by. And then maybe I do have a second channel where I'm doing actual tech reviews. You know what I mean? And then I also wanted to get into the vlogging space. So maybe there's a third channel where I'm doing like lifestyle vlogs and stuff like that.
That's cool. The reason I ask you this is because it's going to be really cool to listen to that 5 years from now.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that.
I think that will be interesting.
Shout out to the pod.
My other question for you, because you're going to listen to this in 5 years, how long do you think it will take you to get to 10 million subscribers?
It's not even a thought in my mind.
I know it's not but if you had to put, how many years do you think it would take for you to get to 10 million subscribers?
That's the problem, dude. It's like I'm so busy with so much going on. Like I would have to, if I'm calculating it with the workflow I have right now, 10 years.
10 years?
Yeah. The
Really?
workflow I have now.
10 years?
If I'm still doing content stuff for Media, for Unspeakable Studios, and the only thing I really have time for is short form. Yeah, maybe.
I give it 6.
Okay.
I'll say 6. And
6.
we're going to watch this.
In 6 years.
We're going to watch this 5, 6, 7 years from now.
How old
I
will
think
I
it'll
be
be really interesting.
I don't
to
know,
see.
dude. I'll be 30. I don't know if I could be a YouTuber past
I think it'll be
30.
really interesting to see where you're at.
That would be wild. Now I'm going to try to get that in 4.
My next question for you is, me and you talking is very interesting because you are in the very beginning stages of a creator creator's journey. You have 360,000 followers, and you're talking to someone that has 35 million followers across all their channels. I've been doing it for 11 years. You've been doing it for 2,
almost, right? I think almost 2 or 3 now.
2 years.
Yeah.
If there was, I guess, like, what do you want out of my brain? Like, if you had to take one thing out of my brain that you could just adapt, I'm kind of curious what you would say, and then I'm going to tell you what I think it should be.
The boring answer would be, when do I make a business account to write off all of my expenses, you know? But I
You
think
should be doing that right now.
I know, dude. I need it. I don't know. That's like what I'm struggling with right now. Man, that is a doozy. What do I ask someone with 35 million subscribers? I feel like I just know a lot already from you, just from watching the background. I don't think I've ever like directly asked you questions about the space. It's usually just like what I've observed. Man,
It could be like a skill. It could be like,
I guess it's how do you manage your time so well? That is something that I struggle with, and I think like I'm very forgetful of things, and so that's a huge thing I want to improve on. But how do you manage your time for 3 to 4 different YouTube channels?
yeah.
The amount of businesses you're running, the relationships you have, like,
Yeah, so there's a couple things there. I mean, step 1 to managing your time is figuring out what is important. What are the important things you need to focus on, and then what are the things that you're also good at? Because we have a big team, 35 employees.
35.
So I am very good, and I can help the team a lot with creativity, figuring out ideas, figuring out what the video is going to be about, reviewing the edits. I'm very good at that. So I spend a lot of time doing that. I spend a lot of time alone brainstorming ideas. I know other creators that have big teams as well that spend no time brainstorming ideas, but they spend a lot of time doing other things. So you really just have to figure out, what are you good at? What can you add the most value to? And then what should you actually be focusing on? And for me, it's the best ideas I can think of. Because if I can think of the best video idea for my audience, then I can build the best story. The story will just come because it's going to be supportive of the idea. The thumbnail and title will come behind that because the thumbnail and title are the idea. So the thumbnail and title are also going to be very strong. So I've kind of learned that the idea is the greatest thing that I need to focus on. So that's what I spend a lot of my time doing. And then the rest of my time is obviously, I'd say the rest of my time is just managing people. Like just figuring out where to put people, where to do this, you know, because with a big team, you spend a lot of time doing that. And then just really visualizing the future as well, because that is something that I haven't, like 5 years ago, I didn't do. I was always in the day to day, like in the motions, and you should be in the day to day, because what you do today is going to set up the future for tomorrow, next year, whatever, right? Like you are a collection of the last 3 years of your life. Everything you did in the past 3 years leads up to where you are today. Everything. So you really do need to focus on today. But at the same time, you also got to look towards like, what am I going to? What goals am I going towards? What goals am I pushing the team towards and whatnot? So that would be the other thing that I spend a lot of my time on. And then in terms of how do I manage it, it's really just a balance between those 3 things. And then any of my free time, I'm reading books or just trying to learn new things. But managing it is just figuring out what is the most important task that I need to focus on today.
Yeah.
Is it figuring out this video? Is it reviewing this vlog with the editing team because the video is going up in 2 days? Is it reviewing these scripts for videos we're filming in next week? You know, just prioritizing that list.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah.
I think do you feel like it's easier for you to manage your time with such a larger team to like maybe take away some of the tedious stuff that you usually do? I think it's harder for me because I'm doing absolutely everything. Like,
yes,
I'm creating social media presence for my brand while on top of making content while working here. Like, there's just so much to do, you know, still continuing to balance relationships still try to take care of my health, all while like looking out in the future. And it's hard for me to, the future is foggy for me. I think that there will be success in the future, but it's hard for me to visualize like where I'm going to be. Because even 3 years ago, I didn't think I would be standing in the house that I'm living in today.
Yeah.
Which is so strange. Because
You bought a house.
I bought a house. Yeah.
And a Tesla.
And a Tesla. Yeah. So I guess like the Tesla was a good goal to reach. And I was like, okay,
Bro,
I did
either
it.
someone's paying you well or
You're paying me well.
or someone's making a lot of money on brand deals. I don't know.
It's both, man.
Maybe both.
But that's the thing. I think like being a creator, it's good to work full time, dude. I think it's smart. If you're gonna be a creator, I think it's smart to have a good paying job.
Yeah. So I will say that was out of my. I don't like to say the word lucky because I don't think there's a lot of luck in my success because there was many factors that were against me. But if there's one thing that I was really lucky on, it was my timing of when I started being a creator, because I started YouTube when I was a freshman in high school, and I did it for 4 years, freshman all the way to being a senior and graduating. And by the time I graduated, I was making enough money to buy a house.
Damn, dude.
So I was living, obviously, like during my high school, I was living with my parents. So I didn't have to worry about rent or getting it. I didn't have to go to college or get a job to pay for an apartment because I was already making enough money from YouTube. So I will say that out of all the things that I did, that's my luck. I think my timing was very lucky because I think I would have been in a much different place if I started YouTube after I got out of high school and I had to balance a full-time job and YouTube at the same time. You know, obviously I was still going to high school, so that's kind of like a job because you're at school from like, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. So, but I think I was very lucky in terms of that sense. But
I would say I'm not like lucky in timing. I was having this conversation with someone earlier. I think I'm lucky in opportunity. Like I think like things fall into place for me opportunity wise. My previous job was working at a film studio here in Houston, but they worked with creators. And I think like that opportunity, being able to work closely with, creators as an agency, I learned kind of how the business works, how the space works. And by the time I was ready to leave, because I hated it so much, you had DM'd me on Instagram. You're like, hey man, I'm looking for a photographer. Dude, my heart, like, oh my gosh. I just like was so happy because I was so miserable at my other job. And it was $15 an hour as a production assistant. By that, I was the social media manager. I was a video editor. I was a videographer. And I was just miserable. I was ready to leave like as soon as I could.
yeah.
And you hit me up. I'm like, I'll take it. I think it was only 14. It was 14. It was less. It was $1 less than what I was getting. But I was like, but this will make me a little bit happier,
Yeah. No, it's definitely. I remember having that conversation. I was sitting in traffic. and I called you. I was sitting in traffic and I was just like, man, I really need someone good to film. And I saw all your stuff on Instagram and I was just like, oh, dude, this is,
Dude, yeah, it was actually, it's funny because the day I wanted to leave that job was the day they laid me off.
Really?
Yeah.
I actually did not know
they
that.
knew that like I was not happy there. And I think they were like, that's what they told me. They're like, yeah, we could tell just like you're kind of really not happy here, blah, blah, blah. And worked out for me great. I went home ecstatic, dude. Because that was the day I was gonna put my 2 weeks in. So had I put my 2 weeks in, I would have had 2 more weeks there.
Yeah.
But what ended up happening was
Saved 2 weeks of your life.
I saved 2 weeks of my life. I drive up to the merchandise warehouse. I signed some papers. I'm like, let's get it. Wow, timing and opportunity. That's like what I feel like I'm extremely lucky at.
Yeah.
I think like I've had a lot of opportunities. Freelance videography, for example, like a lot of good opportunities there. But I think like the creator space is where I've had the most like luck for opportunities.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so to go back to my question was something along the lines of like, what would you pull from my brain?
Yeah.
And I think the question that you asked is, how do you manage your time? I think that's a very good question, especially for the situation that you're in, because you're working a full-time job.
Yeah.
With me helping film videos, but you're also a creator at the same time. So it's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
I don't even know how you sleep. But if there was one thing that I had to pull out of my brain and give to you that I thought would be the most important skill or trait or whatever it is, it would simply be, and I'm saying this to everyone that's watching this video, not just you, but it would be the part of my brain that is addicted to learning, because it is so incredibly powerful to be obsessed with learning new things. And when I was a creator in my beginning, my first maybe 4 to 5 years, I wasn't obsessed with learning. I hated reading books. I hated listening to podcasts. I thought mentors were weird. I was like, why does someone need to tell me how to live my life?
Yeah.
I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out, right? And my whole thing was like, I'm going to learn through experience, right? Like, I'll just learn through experience, figure it out, whatever. And it's so, I guess, ignorant of me to think that way when I could pick up a book from, the founder of Pixar and read a book about how he told the best stories in the world for Pixar films. And I could read that book in 2 weeks, and I could consume his entire life lessons for 60 years or 50 years in those 2 weeks. It is just insane to me how many things you can learn if you become obsessed with learning. And when I started becoming obsessed with learning, reading books, doing things like that, my entire life changed. Like within a year, my revenue doubled, my views doubled, like everything doubled, because I started reading books on obviously things like that would impact me, right? So I wasn't like reading books about like, I don't know, like stocks, like I was reading books about creativity and how, like, ideas, and how to manage your time, and like, personal development,
Self-improvement.
business books. Yes. And I just like, it is so crazy to me that I started reading books probably like 4 or 5 years into my YouTube journey. And I was just like, man, if I would have done this when I started YouTube, dude, I'd be like 6 years ahead of where I am right now. It's crazy. It is crazy, because honestly, if you're not learning, you're not growing, right? And people will still say, oh, well, I can learn through experiences, right? But why would you not learn through both?
Yeah.
And the books are way more powerful than the experiences, because what if you read a book and you read a book from, someone that you really look up to that is already 20 years down the road of where you're trying to go, and you figure out, oh, maybe I shouldn't take that path, or maybe I should do it this way instead. You know how much time that saves you versus just being like, oh, I'll just learn it through the experience and figure it out when I get there.
Yeah, I mean, you honestly, you put me on reading. Like, I started reading because you were like, oh, I read this. Every meeting we have, whether it's talking about the latest video's performance. Yeah, I read this book, and actually, this is what I want to apply.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna start, thinking of books to read. Like, I picked up a focus book because I always lose focus, and I'm learning more of like how to improve that. I picked up a creativity book to kind of just give me a realization that like whatever you're doing, you're always creating.
Yeah.
And
to note here, it is super important not just to be addicted to learning, but be addicted to applying the information.
Yeah.
Because you can read, people are like, I read 50 books a year.
But they don't retain that information.
Great. What did you take from those 50 books and apply to your life? I don't care how many books you read. You could read one book for the entire year, but if you highlight that entire book and work on that book every week and take those chapters and those notes and figure out how to apply it to your life, and by the end of the year you memorize the entire book, you just memorize the author that wrote that book, you just memorized the last 50 years of his life in a year.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me. It is the most overpowered OP thing you can do. Like, it really is. And there's so many people that just look over it. And it's crazy to me how cheap the books are.
Right. It's just
$10,
information
15
you could
bucks,
get
like,
online. Like, just a Kindle book, or,
It's crazy. So, I mean, the other thing is like, you gotta know the people to study for sure. It completely depends on what you're trying to learn. So you just got to figure out the great people that are, in that space. But yeah, I mean, I can't stress enough, like anyone that's watching this, listening to this, or even yourself, that is like, if you want to change your life, there you go. That's the blueprint. Just read some freaking books. But read books that will directly apply to your life.
That makes sense.
I'm not reading books about trading stocks because I don't care about that.
Yeah.
But that's my spiel.
Cool. You got any more questions?
That's my last. That's it, dude.
Oh,
That's it.
I'm gonna go home and read.
That's actually what I'm gonna do after this.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for listening to the podcast. If you guys have any questions to ask us, drop them in the comments because we are looking for creator-driven questions. They can be any questions. And if the most important thing is, if you guys learned anything from this episode, please share it with your friends. Share it with, even if they're not a creator and you think it's something valuable, for if it comes up in your next conversation. Because the way we're going to grow this show is really just through word of mouth, and our goal is to help creators build more valuable attention. And if I can have a creator listen to this and I can save them 2 years of time because of all the issues and failures that I had, that would make my day. That's my direct goal for the show. So share the show, like the show, subscribe, all that good stuff. I've been saying that for way too long.
12 years of subscribe.
Like and subscribe. It's like a part of my DNA now, I swear. I should get it tattooed on my arm.
All right. We'll see y'all next week.